What's up guys, and welcome back to another video. It is time for my thoughts. Ireland versus New Zealand. Who is going to win? Number 1 versus the new number 2 and Six Nations champions. Both phenomenal teams. But let's go back a bit. Last year, the talk of the town, the talk of when we found out the next November international tests, the fixtures, we were all talking about it. England versus New Zealand at Twickenham. Number 1 versus their number 2. Eddie Jones versus Steve Hansen. I was talking about it. It was an exciting moment. But since England's been on the downfall, and with Ireland totally dominating the Six Nations, Ireland deserved just as much hype and just as much credit as the game, because they too are playing the All Blacks, and they are playing at home, and what a game it is going to be. So many exciting battles to look forward to. I mean, Aaron Smith versus Conor Murray, Johnny Sexton versus Beauden Barrett, Stander versus Kieran Reid. So much talent on one field, and my word, it's going to be a cracking game. Now, we all know England are a phenomenal team, and that game is still a game to talk about and a game to watch. Because, don't get me wrong, England are going to bounce back. Eddie Jones is going to have procedures in place, but he first needs to hit the Springboks, and it'll be interesting to see where they are at that time and where they are going to be after that tournament. But let's not get into that details. We hear about Ireland. Now, Ireland obviously have Australia. New Zealand have France in the junior internationals, so great tests for both teams. And then we get to the Rugby Championship, so New Zealand are going to be playing in that, and then we get to the November internationals. But in all honesty, Ireland really deserve the credit, because, and so does Joe Smith. They've come from a time when they used to struggle, they used to be dominant. You know, you wouldn't talk about them being contenders for the Six Nations, and it's quite a few years ago. But what we always need to remember is the brilliant players Ireland's produced. Brian O'Driscoll, Keith Wood, Paul O'Connell, all those legends of the game, and so many more. I mean, Brian O'Gara, all those geniuses. But to see the talent that Ireland's producing now, and the skill level that Ireland's playing at, is unbelievable and truly special to watch. And the same goes for New Zealand. They have a talented team. They have phenomenal coaching systems in place to make them the dominant team. Now, yes, New Zealand are beatable. We've seen it. We saw it with the Lions when they weren't as strong. We saw them have a little bit of a tiff with Scotland. Obviously, they still beat them. But they can be beaten. We saw them totally destroy South Africa. But then South Africa comes so close to beating them. So that's just why this game is going to be so amazingly brilliant, because I think these two teams are on very equal levels. And why I say that is because they're just totally, well, we can see from Ireland recently, the Ireland's totally on fire. New Zealand are brilliant, and they will be totally dominant, and we can see it in some of the Super Rugby games where the players are showing their class. But for me, it's a very tough game to predict. Now, I was when I did my thoughts for England versus New Zealand, I said England were going to win. Obviously, it's going to be close, but predicted New Zealand to win the World Cup. Now, I still reckon they've got a damn good chance of winning the World Cup. But when they face Ireland at home, if Ireland play with the same consistency, determination, passion, drive, momentum that they had in the Six Nations, especially against England, I reckon they can definitely beat the All Blacks. The All Blacks are beatable, guys, and with the talents like Johnny Sexton, who's got such a good game and mind for the game of rugby, he can definitely do it. But then we must also look at Beauden Barrett, who's just as good, just as genius with the ball. So it's just so interesting to see how these two are going to play. Two of the greatest scrum halves in world rugby today, Conor Murray and Aaron Smith. brilliant with their games. But for me, at this stage, if I have to look at what I've just seen in the Six Nations, Conor Murray outnumbers him just from what the man can do on the field. But again, just Aaron Smith is a genius of a player. He's skillful, he's tactical, and he's quick and sharp. So it's just so equally matched. I mean, Kieran Reid is a legend of the game, true leader. But Ireland have just as many leaders in that team who are just as good. Ireland have young and upcoming players that are showing such great potential. Keith, Jacob, all those blokes who are quick, clever, stood out in the Six Nations. I mean, Stockdale, I think, got the player of the tournament, and well deserved. So to see those battles against each other is going to be unreal and unbelievable to watch. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, and I'm not even from any of those countries. But it's going to be an interesting task. I mean, we've got June internationals, so Ireland play Australia. That is going to be quite a test. The Aussies, you know, they're talented blokes. Michael Cheika has his ways, and I think they're going to try and fight and take on the Irish, and they're going to know they've got a serious challenge. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they play. But with the way Joe Schmidt has got the Irish team sorted, if they continue, as I said, the momentum, they probably could win in Australia. But don't count the Aussies out. New Zealand taking on France. France are also upcoming. We can't count them out. And we always know the history between France and New Zealand. Special games to watch between the two teams. So you can't count them out. But I'm quite convinced New Zealand will dominate that tournament. But when we get to the end of the year, I mean, they've still got Rugby Championship, and it'll be interesting to see how they play against the Springboks under new leadership. I'm expecting big things from the Boks. I'm expecting a massive, different improvement team. So they're going to give New Zealand a run for their money in the championship. So don't count the Springboks out either. But when we get to the end of the year, Ireland have home advantage. They've got the momentum of obviously having Six Nations victory, Grand Slam victory. New Zealand will be wanting the Bledisloe and the Rugby Championship, and probably stand a very good chance at winning both. So we're going to have the best of the best of the Southern versus the best of the Northern. It's a dream match to watch. It really is. England obviously are just as good, and don't get me wrong, they're brilliant, and I respect them, and they're going to bounce back, but they need to get through South Africa. And then we will judge that game when it gets to it. But this is number one versus number two. And with the talent that's so equally based, I see it really being one of the greatest games of the year, if not the greatest game. And if I have to predict now, and obviously so much can change, so I'm making a decision now, and obviously I'll do predictions at the end of the year. But if I'm making a decision now, I'm saying Ireland could win that game. In fact, I will say Ireland will just sneak it, but it will be close. Obviously, New Zealand have time. They've got so much rugby to play. So they're going to develop and get better and stronger and continue their reign. So, obviously, anything can happen. But if you ask me to make a decision right now, I'm going Ireland to win. But it's going to be one hell of a match. And it's going to be a full-on 80 minutes, maybe more, game. It's going to be hard, it's going to be tough, and both teams are going to have to be awake. And one thing Ireland needs to remember, and I know they can, is they need to play a full 80-minute game. They can't slip up, because the All Blacks will come back from behind. And vice versa, because we saw it when Ireland took on France. France were there. They could have won. But in the 82nd or 81st minute, Johnny Sexton, can't miss him, kicks a drop goal to win the game. If Ireland had lost, would we have seen a different outcome? Maybe England might have had a confidence boost. But we'll never know. And credit to Ireland for sticking it out, playing a full 82-minute game to win the game. That's how rugby should be played. You can't slip or sit back, because just like that you could lose the game. I've seen it so many times in rugby games. And that's pretty much all I could say for this game. But what a build-up it's going to be. What a a game that's going to be in our memories for a long time. Whether you from Australia, from South Africa, from England, from Ireland, New Zealand, wherever you're from, I think a lot of us are going to be looking at this game because it's going to be a game to remember, and from there we can maybe judge where the World Cup will be sitting. Now, I did a previous World Cup video, but I might need to redo it because so much has changed. So that's going to do it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts down below. New Zealand or Ireland? Who's going to win? Also, make sure you answer the poll above, New Zealand or Ireland, so we can see what your guys' thoughts are. It's going to be a game to remember. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this channel so you can keep up to date with all future uploads. We got a heck of a year in store for us. So much exciting rugby, and I can't wait. So make sure you subscribed. All international games, all the big ones, will be on this channel. Predictions, recaps. So make sure you subscribe wherever you are in the world. Make sure you're with me on this journey. And I'll see you guys real soon for another video. Have a great week further. Any ideas for videos, please let me know in the comment section below. I know a few of you have given me some, and I will try and get to them, but keep them coming, so maybe it's an idea that I can quickly chat about. So make sure you let me know those. Stay safe, guys, and never give up. Cheers.